Tired of myself, tired of this town.
Eminent Waste of Time, presented by CW Motorsports, episode 109. I'm Doug.
And I'm Chad.
And we're actually going to try and give you a full-length episode this time, just for laughs.
I'm sure we can just babble incessantly for forever.
Well, I didn't say anything about quality. I was just talking quantity.
Yeah.
So, this is the second official podcast for my new house, although the last one barely counts as an official podcast, so...
Oh, you're at the new... See, I can't see Doug, so I don't know where he's at. We're just doing an audio call and recording each other on each side. I thought you were going to Illinois, or is that tomorrow you leave?
It's tomorrow morning, yeah.
Okay.
It was long story, but anyways, I'm still here, and I will be going tomorrow morning now.
Gotcha.
So, stuff
Good
and
enough.
things. So yeah, I'm actually at the house again, and, in the kitchen. So if you hear the fridge in the background, I apologize. That's what you get.
That's fine. I don't hear it. It's fine. They've seen my refrigerator for years. It's about time they heard or seen yours, whatever.
Yeah, mine is like a good child. It's the opposite. It's heard and not seen. Crap. Okay,
Yeah.
So it's a terrible child. Never mind.
Very good. So
we
Doug
went.
and I are doing this way, and it is Monday night, and I don't mind giving up the secrets that we are recording this nearly last minute simply because neither one of us had time. Doug was driving back from Louisiana on Sunday night, and I was still driving back from Utah on Saturday night, and everything has been busy.
Yeah, and we've split up before, but this time we were quite a few miles apart.
Yeah, about as far as you can get. I mean, you would have had to go to like the East Coast for it to be further.
Yeah, pretty much. So my trip down to Louisiana was paltry compared to yours, but it was still about 920 miles and took about 13 hours to get each way. So it was enough.
Yeah. Mine was 1,700 and something miles total each way.
Sheesh. Yeah.
So no fun. And I was in a big toter home. For those of you that don't know what a toter home, some people call them a Super Class C, but it's a big Freightliner like semi with a 30, I think this one's a 34-foot box RV on the back. It's like a living quarters.
So picture a garbage truck, but slightly nicer.
It's bigger than a garbage truck. But yes. So yeah, I was in that plus it's a 28-foot enclosed box plus the tongue. So I think all in total it's right near like 34 feet long, 35 feet long. So I was driving a monster.
So technically you were driving illegally because I don't think you can drive something that long on a standard license.
We were about 8 feet longer than the other standard semis we parked next to.
But of course you have your CDL Class A, so it was fine.
Oh yeah. Whatever.
Yeah.
I have that.
Yes. Whatever the thing was, I have that.
Oh, that thing is a monster to drive, let me tell you. So I guess I'll recap my trip down there.
Yeah, I was going to say, let the people know
in.
about the wondrous horsepower of this machine and how it never let you down.
So let's start with what the machine is. It is an International 4300 is what the cab and chassis are. So that's
for reference, that's what they use for school buses.
Yeah, it's like the big Penske box trucks. That's the same truck that I was driving, basically. They just took the box off, cut a hole in the back of a cab, and put like a RV camper bit on the back. So it wouldn't have been bad, except this thing has 215 horsepower.
Count them, 215.
And that's when it was new. I'm sure some of those ponies have escaped the barn. I mean, it doesn't have a bunch of miles. It's only got 64,000 miles on it. But it just isn't a screamer. And it doesn't help that total weight in on that, we were at like 35,000 pounds.
Whew, yeah. That's a bit.
she's a tank.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the empty toter home is like 24. Then we had 200 gallons of fresh water on, and then the trailer, which is like 45 or 5,000 pounds, 2 razors, a dirt bike, a scooter, plus a full toolbox fully filled with tools and fuel and everything else for all these machines. She weighed a bit.
I'm amazed it weighs that much empty. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a hog.
No kidding.
I mean, so, but you know what? It made it. So, my trip, we talked about it. I showed the little clips and all that, but I didn't really tell you guys the route I took and for the reasons I took. So, on the way down, or out, it's not down, but on the way out to Utah, I took what we all labeled as the southern route. Basically, I went from Indianapolis through Illinois, down Missouri, down south toward Oklahoma, because the thought is there are less hills, well, less mountain that way, and there are. But as you guys saw in the last episode, had to fix my camera. You saw in the last episode, I broke down in Joplin, Missouri. Well, I got going again. It was the high pressure oil pump. I was off the road for about 24 hours. So I got out of Joplin, Missouri at 2-ish p.m. their time, and I got all the way to Amarillo, Texas that night, which in of itself is a long drive. And then the next morning, what should have been from Amarillo to where I was going, I think only showed like 12 and a half or 13 hours, something like that. That's in normal car speeds. This thing doesn't do normal car speeds. I mean, it'll go fast, but it's sketchy at best, and it doesn't get to those speeds quickly, and you can't take corners fast and all that fun junk. So it turned like a 12-hour drive into like a 16 and a half or 17-hour drive, and I had to do all that Sunday. So basically, when I got to Amarillo, I slept about 3 hours, got up at, 3 in the morning or something like that, and started driving.
God.
And so the route I was taking, I knew that as soon as I got off of 40, which is the main highway down there, I basically headed out through what appeared on the map to be nothing. Well, I found out as I was driving, I was going through Navajo Nation, which it is nothing. There is nothing there. It is like barren nothingness with these little reservations of just dust bowls.
Yeah, there's not much going on there.
Yeah. And that was like 170 or 180 miles of that. So it was interesting. So I get through the Navajo Nation and get down by the Grand Canyon, and I have to drive through these big canyons. These stupid steep climbs that this truck is just screaming mad about, because it's basically like these 8% grade climbs for 5 miles, and I'm having to pull over where there are no real pullover spots to let the truck cool down so that I don't cook the motor. And yeah, and then going down 8% grades for 3 miles, I get about 2 miles down it, and I look in the mirrors and the brakes are just smoking. Like literally smoke rolling off of them. So I have to pull over and let the brakes cool, using engine braking all I can, and it was a true adventure, but I did make it there.
I was going to say, that little tiny diesel, there's not enough engine braking there for that kind of load.
but I was trying to use as much as I could so I didn't melt the brakes down either.
Oh, yeah.
So
what kind of speeds were you achieving on the uphill in between cooldowns?
Like 15.
Oh, that's... Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah, like on flat ground, it was very comfortable cruising at like 68. I mean, it was real comfortable there. It did just fine. It would kick down into overdrive, and it was good. Any hill, and it was kicking down to 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st when I was in 15,
Whew. Ouch.
So I get to St. George, Utah, which, for those of you who don't know where St. George is, it is the very southwest corner of Utah.
Yep.
I mean, like within miles of getting over into Arizona and stuff like that. So I get there. We ride in St. George at Sand Hollow for a couple days. Neat place, completely different than anything I was used to. There is some sand there, but their sand is really weird. Doug and I have been like up to Silver Lake and stuff like that, and you know how their sand, it very much mounds over the top, and you can have good jumps and stuff like that. This sand is super different, and it peaks really steep. There is no jumping on this sand. You stand no chance of flying a razor correctly.
Yeah, it's a whole different thing.
Yeah, and there was a lot of rocks and stuff like that. But rode that for 2 days, and then the thing that we were down there for, which was it was Parts Unlimited had a ride for all their dealers, and so sorry, I gotta.
The air gun? No, which one is it?
You all right?
Okay, I'm okay.
Shut her down. There you go.
Doug, you all right?
I'm pretty fucked.
Yeah, your gas leaking.
Gas running out, or what is that?
That's Anna trees.
That's not good.
Fuck.
You okay though?
No.
I was live streaming.
Shit.
Shouldn't have done that. God damn it. Shit, I fucking shouldn't have done
Let's,
Winch.
Yeah.
I mean, if you get on that side.
We got a winch.
We can roll. We could try rolling it back over, at least on its top right there.
Yeah, whatever you guys think's best, I'm game. It's fucked at this point.
over here.
We can't even drive it out because I've lost all the antifreeze.
Well, I've got all shit on water.
Radiator smashed it.
Radiator smashed.
For sure.
We'll see.
Fucking another insurance company.
You want to come down here, Dylan?
And my trip's over. Fuck! Should've just given it up. Why didn't I, Matt? Why didn't you tell me?
It was awesome.
Not really.
Yeah, I drove my Ford Fusion that has about the same 215 horsepower. And you know what? I didn't have any problems at all. The thing ran like a Swiss watch. True. No, it was a long but uneventful drive. I got to catch up on some podcasts, and I like to. I mean, I've got some mixes of music and stuff, but I'm really kind of an old album-oriented rock kind of guy, so I like to listen to entire albums, And so it's kind of nice to have long drives like that where you can listen to entire albums kind of end to end. So a lot of people don't like driving those kind of distances. It doesn't even faze me. I mean, trust me, I was ready to get out of the car, but I was amazed how many people said I could never drive that long in one sitting. Like, I don't know, it doesn't bug me. You're just eating miles. I mean, you and I are wired a lot alike. You put gas in, you drive till the gas is all gone, you get some more, go to the bathroom, grab some water, hit the road again. Just keep pushing. So, got down there Thursday evening, and so the park has what they call cabins, and that is a really generous term for what these things are. Now, Tower Tracks, we really appreciate them hosting the event and everything else, but these cabins are rough. You know the FEMA trailers they sent down for Hurricane Katrina? Yeah, I think they went through the hurricane and then ended up out there. That's pretty much what happened. Yes. They just hooked up some electricity and we're good to go. But the park is really nice. I mean, they've got a lot of acreage there. They've got a lot of trails to ride, but the trails there are not challenging trails. They're literally just a way to get from A to B, and A to B is from one mud hole to another. You know, some are shallow, and picture a 4 to 12 inch deep pond, but it's just really muddy. Some of them will swallow a machine whole, and the funny part is you don't really know which one's which until you start dipping down into it. So, or you'll find one, this isn't so bad, and then all of a sudden the front end disappears, and you're wondering if you're going to get back out again. So, it's a different style of riding. You do get to use all the horsepower a machine can produce. You're just not moving very fast when you do. Yes, you're using it to clean out tires, or in some cases you are fighting for your life, because if you don't keep moving, you are really in trouble. So for those of you who haven't followed what's going on, we went there last year. We went there again this year. It's the Southern Mud Riders put on an event where all of the proceeds, and I mean 100% of the proceeds, they keep absolutely nothing, goes to St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. So if you're not familiar with St. Jude's, it is a cancer research hospital for children. And so they see everything there: liver cancer, leukemia, pancreatic cancer. I mean, you name it, anything that you normally associate with an adult, kids get it too. So their mission is to end childhood cancer. I mean, that's why St. Jude is there. They're trying to put themselves out of a job, basically. So this is the 7th year of this ride, and in the previous 6 years, they've raised almost $250,000. This year they raised another $47,000. So it's just a great event. I mean, people get there, they get a chance to go, they get a chance to hang out, they get a chance to mud ride, do something they enjoy anyways, and on top of the entry fees, which all get donated, they have a silent auction. All the proceeds from that get donated. They sell baked goods and stuff that people have donated. They had a big pot. I mean, I say big, I'm talking like 36-gallon pot of pastalaya, which is jambalaya but made with spaghetti.
Okay.
People donate the ingredients, and then they sell bowls of that. I mean, they're really good at finding ways to generate income. And so once again, they raised almost $50,000 this year, and that's all going to St. Jude. It's just a really, really neat event. A lot of people get together, have a great time, get to do something they enjoy, and there's a really nice byproduct of it as well.
Yeah.
I mean, they had what else was going on there? They had like a pumpkin hunt for the younger kids. They'd go hide them, and the kids would find them and turn them in for prizes. They had a costume competition for kids and adults, and I mean, there's just all sorts of stuff going on. And of course, the infamous ginormous pallet bonfire.
Yeah.
Which is so hot when it gets going, you can't be within like 200 feet of it, and it basically lights up treetops a half mile away.
Yeah.
So, It was, like I said, the trip down was uneventful. Friday, we worked our butts off. Mother Nature was not being kind. We had 5 inches of rain between Thursday and noon on Saturday. And I know a lot of you are thinking, you kind of want rain. It's a mud ride. However, there is a point where you have too much.
Yeah, too much mud. Too much
we
rain.
were there.
Yeah.
There's supposed to be a kid's bounty hole. So, again, for you non-mud riders, a bounty hole is just a giant, super deep, super soft bottomed mud hole.
Yeah.
And you just try to get through. That's the challenge. Whoever can get through the fastest wins. And so we had a smaller bounty hole that was supposed to be for the kids. Like they take their little, 90cc quads down in there, so it wasn't going to be very deep.
Right.
Yeah. That thing, we pumped it out twice, and then it rained again, and there was like 3 feet of water in this thing. So that didn't work. The other bounty hole that we used for the adults was a lot wider than they're used to. Normally you like a fairly narrow one because you want to be able to work the edges if you get stuck.
Right.
This one, there was no working the edges. People had complained in previous years that they were too easy, that, we're just sailing right through this stupid thing. Well, we made it hard this year. Only one person made it through.
Not so easy.
Actually, 2. I like, because there's a guy in one of those, you've seen those Argos?
Yeah.
They're like a little boat, and they've got 8 wheels on each side, and he had the treads on his, so he went over it, but he really just kind of floated through it like a boat. I mean, that's not technically running the bounty hole.
Yeah.
But a lot of guys in some really big machines did not make it. In fact, they had one of the giant, they call them a mud cricket, but it's the razors that have, a 6-inch lift, and then they have 6-inch portals, and they're running like 48-inch tires, and he didn't make it. I mean, he got a quarter of the way in and just got stuck fast, and then he smoked his belt, and when he did that, it cracked the belt cover case somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know how exactly that happened, but when he pulled out, he was just bellowing smoke, and you could see stuff leaking out of the belt case, and it was, it wasn't
Sounds
good.
fun.
The what was hilarious is the kid who made it was on this old beat up Honda 4x4 quad.
Yeah.
That was smoking. Like, it's burning oil. He's puttering up to the line. It's just leaving a trail of blue smoke behind it. But instead of a lot of the guys out there are running huge rims with relatively narrow tires.
Yeah.
He was running, really small rims with huge balloon tires. And so he basically floated over the really bad spot that everyone kept getting stuck in. I mean, he started to get stuck, but then he jumped on the front. He got the back end to pop up, and then he just kind of kept on chugging. And then once he got through that, the rest of it was fairly passable. So the kid with arguably the worst quad out there was the only one who actually made it through.
That's how it goes sometimes, though.
But he made $500 for being the fastest one through, so hopefully he's going to buy himself some piston rings and valve seals and that kind of thing.
He needs them.
Yes, he does. So, I'm not going to have Chad throw any video here because I'm going to actually be producing a video for the Southern Mud Riders. We did one last year. If you haven't seen it, go check out the Eminent Performance YouTube page and just look for the St. Jude's ride, and you'll see the video from last year. I'm going to do another one like that, so you'll get to see a lot of the stuff already thrown in there.
Yep, which I'm looking forward to because I haven't seen it.
You just like hick hop.
No.
That's why you're looking forward to it. You love hick hop.
No, I don't.
I didn't even know that was a musical genre until last year.
Yeah, it's new to me.
That was a whole different thing.
Doug's eyes have been opened.
Not in a good way.
Mine have been forced open with toothpick jammed in them.
And you're gonna get more. The song this year is called "Can't See My Paint Job."
That's funny.
And the chorus is something like "muddy on the outside, clean on the inside," just repeated.
Okay.
It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
You're fully gonna love it.
Sure.
So the mud races were also not particularly well attended. Again, just too much water. This one was in an actual pond, and we were using the shallow side of it, but there's a fair amount of water there, and all we had was it's a little gasoline powered like 2-inch trash pump.
Right.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, it moves a fair amount of water, but to try and keep up with the rain that was falling and the size of this lake, I mean, we pumped out what we could, but race pit, you want like, I don't know, maybe between 6 to 8 inches, maybe 10 at the most, but probably closer to 6 to 8. You don't want a ton of there. I mean, you want some water, but it doesn't need to be crazy.
Right.
There was pretty easily 14 inches of water, and in spots deeper.
Yeah. A little bit much.
And so when you're trying to race, you're just pushing water everywhere. I mean, you're not really... There's a guy there in a really nice X3 that went through, and he wasn't moving that fast. I mean, he had it pinned. You could hear it. Turbo spooled up, had it pinned, and was going like, I don't know, maybe 20 miles an hour.
Yeah.
You know, we always say sand eats horsepower. Water eats horsepower.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like it was a good time. I hear they raised quite a bit of money.
Yeah, like I said, about $47,000. We had about the same attendance as last year in terms of people in the park, and raised about the same amount of money as last year. There just wasn't as much participation in the events, and I think it was just, you know, a combination of factors. It was still raining till about noon on Saturday, and so people were doing the poker run and doing some different stuff like that, but they just weren't as excited about the races and the bounty hole and that kind of stuff. I mean, some people still did it, don't get me wrong, but the participation was definitely down. Like last year, it had dried up nice. We were able to pump water out where we needed to. We had the perfect water depths for everything, and it was like, like 80 degrees and sunny. This year it was maybe 64 degrees and cloudy, and it just, people were more just interested in kind of hanging out.
Right.
But
yeah, good turnout though, and it sounds like, money was raised for a great cause, and
yeah. And now we get to compare gas mileage notes. So on your ridiculously slow climb and, all the garbage you went through, what would you say your average was?
I saw 3 a lot. On the hills, I saw 3.
3 gallons per mile?
Yeah, it's about that bad. On the flats, it was up. So we kind of did a rough calculation, and we thought it was getting around 11 on the flats. But I don't even know how accurate that was. I would say that's optimistic.
I was going to say, that sounds optimistic.
I would bet we were closer to like 6 or 7, maybe 8.
Ooh. And 3 on the bad side.
Yeah. And you got?
I don't know what I got on the way down because I didn't reset my trip odometer, but when I pulled up, I was in the mid 30s because it had been going up steadily the whole time. But I had, I'd had 500 or 600 miles of history that it was working against that was in the low 30s from driving around town. So on the way back, I reset my trip odometer and the fuel computer and the whole 9. And at 79 miles an hour, I had the cruise just set at 79 basically from the time I left Louisiana till the time I hit Indiana. 35.3.
That's much better.
At 80 miles an hour. So I gotta give the Little Fusion props. It may not be every guy's dream vehicle, but it's a cheap way to get from A to B.
It is. That it is.
Much cheaper than what you were doing.
Oh yes.
But yeah, it was a great time. I'm going back next year, but I think I'm going to take some extra time. Instead of staying in the cabins, probably going to drive. Oh, we haven't told the viewers this yet.
Oh yeah.
There is a Windy Bagel Mark II. We're going to try this again.
Please keep the roofs on.
We are going to try. This one has a fully intact roof for the time being.
The other one did too when you started.
It did when I started. I'm hoping to get more than one trip out of this, but this one's a little bit newer, a little bit nicer. It's got 2 slide outs instead of 1. It's a more modern chassis. The one I had was the last of the old school Ford chassis, where it had the old Ford 460 dinosaur motor in it. I think that was originally designed to be fired on wood. Might have been coal. Not sure.
Steam powered.
Could have been. Then they converted to gasoline at some point. So this one's got the newer Ford V10. The old one was a 17,000-pound chassis, and it felt like Jello underneath that big, heavy body. This one's like a 22,000-pound chassis. So everything about it's just a little bit nicer, a little bit beefier. And I think we're going to take a couple extra days and just take that down and, make a little bit more of a trip out of it. And Chad, you're going to come next year.
Yes, I am.
Because I just want to recap here. The first year you backed out on me, you got kidney stones.
Yeah.
The second year you backed out on me, you had probably the most miserable drive to and from Utah that anyone has ever experienced.
Very true. I think I just need to make sure I go.
Are you seeing a pattern here?
Yeah. The voodoo doctors down there don't like me missing.
No, they do not. So you have to come with me.
Got it. I'm there next year. I promise.
All right. So we'll take the Windy Bagel down, and we'll just have a good time with it.
Sounds good to me. We are reaching that time. We have pretty much filled an hour.
Yeah, amazingly enough. I'm guessing you didn't put together any trivia or anything.
No, I've been way too busy.
No, I totally feel you. So I'm in my house, but basically how that went down was we had not moved anything out of our storage units yet because we hadn't had any time. I've got a ton of friends. I could have 50 people here probably to help move if I hit up everybody I knew that actually would show. But you need a Saturday to do that, right? You can't just do it on a Wednesday evening. People have jobs.
Right.
So I haven't had any time to get the stuff out of storage into this house. So finally I said, forget it. We're calling a moving company, and it cost me about $1,100, I think.
Okay.
But they went to the storage unit. I opened the door. They loaded everything in the truck. They brought it all here. They set it all in the appropriate rooms. I just had the kids directing traffic, and it got done. So it was the best $1,100 I've ever spent because I did not have any time.
Right.
That was Wednesday, as in the Wednesday before I left Thursday morning. So we have boxes and stuff piled up everywhere. And then I said, you know what? We need to spend the first night in this house tonight. And Jenny's like, really? I said, if we don't, it's going to be at least another week before we get out here. Like, we either do it now or we wait another week.
Right.
So she agreed. So Wednesday night, we're driving around. We're getting beds, mattresses and bedding and stuff from her parents' house. We're grabbing whatever clothes are available because all of our clothes are over there. So we're just grabbing the obvious stuff. And we filled up the Expedition. I mean, we had the trailer full. We had the Expedition filled to the brim. The dogs had to sit on Jenny's lap because there was no other available space for them. Got everything thrown in here, finally got to bed about midnight, and then got up early and left on Thursday morning and left my wife with an absolute catastrophe on her hands. I did offer to cancel the trip, but she said nope. She said, you've been planning it all year. They need you down there. It's not their fault that we bought a house when we did. So.
Yeah. Well, you made it, though. You're in.
I made it, and like you said, just no time, though. I mean, I got back late Sunday night, and then today has been a real barn burner, and then I'm off to Chicago for a couple days, and yeah, there's just no time for anything right now.
Yep, I know that feeling.
Alrighty, well, we'll put a bow on this one. We do want to say a thank you to all of our sponsors, including CW Motorsports, who not only sponsors this podcast, but also Chad's insane adventures out to Utah.
Yes.
Also, Watch Communications, who hosts this podcast for us. They also host our website, and if you need website hosting, you can still do the Waste of Time, all lowercase, no spaces code at checkout. That will get you 1 month of free hosting for whatever insane kind of website you want to put up. They also do internet access, so if you live in rural parts of Ohio or Indiana, they can hook you up with something probably better than you already have. Spangs Fab, outstanding aftermarket parts for your buggy. If you need a full race cage, if you need tree kickers, if you need radius rods, if you need arch lower A-arms, if you need front bumper, if you need just a mount, you got LED lights and you just need mounts for the cage for them, anything like that, he's the man you need to talk to. So Spangs Fab, we were running their stuff on Chad's machine, and I'd say probably half the buggies we see out there on the racetrack have some sort of either at least his tree kickers or maybe a full cage from him.
Yep.
And TGM Off-Road, who they just had their Ride Royal Blue was this past weekend, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
So, yeah, we unfortunately, some of the TGM crew wanted to come down, but we just had a date conflict, and we couldn't have them down there for the St. Jude ride. But they had their own little fun ride out there, and those guys are serious. I mean, we joke around about them just trading recipes and, eating all the time. But when they ride, they ride. I mean, it's not like a 5-mile day. They're pushing hard. So they have a lot of fun. They really enjoy their machines. They like helping each other out. Great group of people. Just jump on Facebook and look. I think it's just Facebook/TGM Off-Road.
Yep.
And that'll get you to them.
Yep.
And if you haven't figured out where to find us already,
I think that's all of them, isn't it? I think you hit them all.
Yeah, that's all the sponsors. And if you haven't figured out where to find us already, which if you're listening, I don't know how you wouldn't know. But anyways, you can find us on the web at eminentperformance.com. You can find us on Facebook /Eminent Racing, on Instagram /Eminent Racing. You can find the video version on YouTube, just YouTube /Eminent Performance. Or you can just search Eminent Performance on YouTube, whatever makes you happy there. You can find the audio version on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Podcast Addict, pretty much anywhere that you can find podcasts. We probably have infected that venue as well.
Yep.
If you could take a second, and if you found us on iTunes, if you could leave us a review there on iTunes, that would be fantastic, because that does help us grow. If you're on YouTube, you can subscribe somewhere on the the right side of the screen. There's a subscribe button. Go ahead and click that, and that will get you on our channel. And then after you click subscribe, you can click the little bell icon, and that will let you know the next time we put out another horrible video like this one, so you can be sure to be one of the first people to watch it.
Yep. And give us a like, thumbs up, comment, stuff like that. That stuff helps too.
So, yeah. Any parting thoughts? Anything else we've missed?
No, my whole story was pretty much stupid stuff with Chad, so...
Yeah.
That's what I got.
And no matter how miserable your trip was because you should have gone to the Southern Mud Rider St. Jude event instead, thanks for riding along with us.
Thanks, guys.
Screwing up. Tired of going down, tired of myself, tired of this town.